Please rise for the pledge. Cecily, roll call, please.
I'm going to pass
You're
it to
gonna-
Angela.
Angela. Yay, Angela. Roll call, please.
Counselor Osberger,
Here.
Counselor Bronson,
Here.
Counselor Heggie,
Here.
Counselor Richards,
Here.
Counselor Sanchez,
Here.
President Pro Tem Thorstad,
Here.
and Mayor Coleman.
Present. Please let the record show that there are 7 present and no absence. So we're stepping into a city council work session, and I'm going to let Cecily take it over from here.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. So just to kind of set the stage for the discussion, I have a moderately brief presentation that's going to go over some basics of a proposed charter amendment. So just so everyone knows, at the moment, there are currently 3 efforts underway simultaneously proposing modifications to the charter. One of those is a citizen-initiated petition. One is a request for a direct referral to the May ballot. And one is, of course, the Charter Review Committee that the mayor recently opened up. So, Adam, if you want to go ahead to the first slide. I'm just going to give a very high-level overview of mayoral duties under our charter, just so everyone understands. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but I do have references in the presentation, and that presentation will be posted online after the meeting. So basically, by our current charter, the mayor serves as chairperson of our meetings. They can appoint committee members, although currently we tend to do a referral process through the Administration, Finance, and Property Committee, that comes to the full council. They also have signatory authority. They can sign checks. Both of those can be delegated to the President Pro Tem in the mayor's absence. They can also call for a special meeting without consensus from any other councilors. They serve as the ceremonial head of the city. They refer questions regarding administration of the city directly to the city manager, and they are able to cancel or reschedule meetings with city manager agreement due to inclement weather, unforeseen circumstances, or emergencies. So there are 3 options to amend the charter. And like I said, we are currently under all 3 of these. You can go to the next slide. So I'll go over all 3 of them briefly. So a direct referral, basically, you all as city council by a majority vote can refer a charter amendment directly to the ballot. That's referred to voters by resolution. And then there's an administrative process to file that with the local elections official, which is the city manager. And then they will file that at the county level. There is a 7-day challenge period at the Lynn County Circuit Court. And then if there are no challenges, then we can file paperwork at the county to put it on the next desired ballot, so long as we meet certain statutory timeline requirements. And so you can see in there, we are getting close to the deadline to submit that language if there was a direct referral desired. Second, we have the citizen petition. So we did receive a prospective petition filed on February 4th, and we are in the middle of the 7-day challenge period. Based on that calendar, the petitioner may file their cover sheet and signature pages with the city recorder after February 14th. People have until 5 p.m. on February 14th to file a challenge to the ballot title. Once the local elections official approves the cover sheet and signatures, the petitioner may go ahead and circulate for signatures. I verified with Lynn County Elections that currently, based on the timeline, we would need 1,153 valid signatures, and the verification process would be done by Lynn County. But they are initially submitted to us. We verify the validity of the signature sheets. The county does request 30 days to verify signatures. And so in reviewing the timeline based on when the petition was submitted, it's not possible for the petition to make it to the May ballot because they would have needed to submit signatures basically in January to allow for the 30-day verification before we get to the deadline for referral to the county. And again, Lynn County will verify those signatures. But again, we've missed those deadlines for the petition to make it to the May ballot. Next slide, please. And then finally, we have the Charter Review Committee. I'm not going to read all of this, but basically there's a list of all of the items the mayor asked them to look at, but it's not limited to looking to only those items. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So one of the benefits of this is there are more public meetings. It is up to the committee to determine the public comment process, and I think that's yet to be determined. It does include topics outside of the current scope. So the petition and the direct referral right now are solely related to a direct election of the mayor. The Charter Review Committee obviously is going to look at more items, but it is a longer timeline. The committee will come up with recommendations. If they refer anything to City Council, it's ultimately up to City Council to go back to that direct referral process to place items on the ballot. I did get a different contact in Lynn County elections and got a little more clarification on costs related to elections. So essentially under Oregon state law, if you take anything to ballot during May or November of an even year, the county is required to cover the costs. But anything outside of those two times, the city will bear the cost. It's not possible to estimate because at the end, they'll take the total cost to administer the election, divide it by the number of initiatives on the ballot, and then however many you have, multiply it by that number. And I actually just received an email from Lynn County Elections. It looks like the last time we had an out of cycle in 2015, it cost us over $10,000. But they also noted that costs have gone up significantly, so we shouldn't use that as a benchmark. So again, to reiterate, if the mayoral item does go in May or November, we will incur costs. We just unfortunately can't estimate what those will be. And then there have been some questions out in the community, so I just want to address some of the top ones that I've been seeing. Can you run for council and mayor at the same time? No, it's prohibited by state law. If you choose to run for mayor while in the middle of your term, do you have to vacate your council seat right away? Or if you lose? No, you do not. Is the intent of those that have been filed that all councilors have 4-year terms versus currently one has a 2-year term? The language as presented means that there would no longer be a councilor with a 2-year term. All councilors would serve 4-year terms. Last time the charter was changed was effective January 1st of 2015. We did have a charter review committee in 2021, but they could not come to any consensus on recommendations to city council. So nothing was changed. I've seen the question, I own property in Sweet Home, why can't I vote? So state law governs that your primary habitation determines where you are able to vote. You can't be registered in multiple local, county, or state jurisdictions, but that also means that if you primarily reside somewhere 6 months plus 1 day, that's where you vote. Also saw the question, I want to sign the petition. Where is it? This is not a city-led initiative. We're not going to provide any information as to how to sign the petition. It is the chief petitioner's responsibility to contact eligible voters to get those signatures. Who's going to verify? Again, that's Lynn County Elections. That's not a city process. We just take in the sheets. And then does the mayor have the power to distribute funds for any programs? And the answer is no. The council approves the budget, but the mayor does not have the power to do anything with any special funds. And so with that, I just open it up for discussion and questions.
Council discussion.
So, Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes.
So I just want to thank you so much for putting this together and bringing all the information to light, because it's been very difficult to have all of this information shared with the city of Sweet Home, and I feel the council. So I'm very thankful for this. I just want to ask a question. I have a lot, but so when you're saying that the mayor doesn't have authority to allocate funds, I thought I saw somewhere that the SEEP grant, if it was over a threshold of a dollar value, that the mayor and the city manager were allowed to allocate those funds outside.
That I would have to double check. I know typically for SEEP, the mayor doesn't have any power, but I can double check.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read it in meeting minutes or in wherever it's at, but I did see that at that time, the mayor did have authority if it went over the value. So I just want to bring that up. And I don't really know. Oh, so I'll probably stop and let other people talk before I go on and on. Well, okay, so for the dollar value, it's already going to cost us $10,000, correct, to put the levies on there?
So we don't know how much it's going to cost, but yes, the levies are going on May ballot. So we will pay for those. It's just, there was some discussion of if we put another item on, will it save us? No, it will not.
Yeah.
Unless the only way that it would save us is if other jurisdictions decide to dump a bunch on the May ballot so that the amount per jurisdiction goes lower. But again, there's no way to predict that.
Yeah, I also talked to them too, just to follow up and get more clarification. So I was under the impression that it was some sort of cost sharing depending upon what jurisdictions participate in the May special election. So the $10,000 that it was estimated in the past, we're already spending that on the 2 levies that we voted to put on the special election. If it's more, we're already spending that.
For the levies, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so what was told to me was it's just based upon the space of the ballot that you need to add additional things. So I tried to pin them down for costs, but I would assume that if we're going to just spend the money for the levies, I just don't understand why we would say, well, we just shouldn't spend the money for the mayor on the ballot. So that would be my only throw to that potential challenge. But I love the fact of the opportunity for direct referral. And I appreciate the charter review committee process. However, it was no consensus last time. It's continually been no consensus, or we're not going to talk about the mayor, or we don't want you running for mayor, or we don't think the people can decide who the mayor should be, type of communication. So I think that the people of the community deserve to choose for themselves. That's about all I have to say.
I just want to say, when you speak of the past council, that's the past. We have 3 new councils on here. And I do not think it's necessary to speak negatively of the new councilors and how we perceive things. That's it.
I have a few questions that have been asked of me, so I'd like to just put them out there to be on public record. How are the number of signatures needed determined?
So it is based on 15% of the registered voters at the time that the petition is filed.
And how is it determined which signatures are valid?
So again, it'll be determined based on the current voter registration on file at Lynn County Elections.
Okay. Somebody had asked about voters within city limits and voters outside of city limits. Is that something that's considered
Yes.
within?
So currently only those within city limits are eligible as valid signatures.
Per Oregon state law? How much time is this taking away from other projects in the city?
I would say to date, the petition has been the largest lift. It has been significant. I don't know that I could give you an estimate, but yes, it has taken up significant time just with the research and ensuring that we're doing everything properly, and the document review and filing and all of the legal notices. Yes, it is time intensive.
Another individual has asked me, so can anyone file a petition where the city would then have staff pay for all of this process and posting and everything like that? So
Yes.
if somebody else had a petition, they would.
Yes.
Okay. I will let them know. Any other questions of counselors?
Question of clarification. Okay, currently we have a mayor on a 2-year term. So we cannot change the mayor position for the next 2 years.
Correct.
So we have 4 elections between now and the end of the mayor's term. So a logical sequential investigation and going over all the facts and procedures and reaching a consensus seems like a much better way of doing it than cramming this thing through in a very short time frame for the May election. Thank you.
One last thing, just for the record, I'm all for us shoving it through to the May ballot.
Madam Mayor, may I? So I looked up when Councillor Thorstad sent the emails regarding the charters for Brownsville and Halsey. And essentially Brownsville does the highest vote getter to become the mayor, but they do it for a 4-year term. And the city of Halsey does it for a 2-year term. So I don't think that this is any sort of cramming anything through or rushing anything through. It's just a fix for the mayor to be on the ballot elected by the people. it aligns with what other communities are currently doing. As it was listed in the new era, a community member researched, and I didn't follow up, and I should have, but 13 cities in the county have a mayor position, and 11 of them are elected, and 2 of them are not, and we're one of the 2. So the community has spoken for many years. This language, there's no hiding anything. It's very simple, straight to the point. It changes the low vote getter to the top vote getter to be the mayor. And so I think that we should move forward with putting this on the ballot and the agenda. If nobody has any concerns about the language, I'd love to discuss the language if they did.
I'd like to have a clarification on what you just said regarding the low vote getter to the high vote getter is the mayor. I've never had a low vote, so I don't know how you read low vote getter gets the mayor.
No, it's flipping the lowest vote getter to the 2-year term and changing the language to the high vote getter for the 2-year term to become the mayor.
So if I may, the ballot language that was submitted with the petition does not have any low vote getter or high vote getter. That's all been deleted. And so the counselors would just be elected, the top 3 vote getters would be elected to council positions. And then the mayor would be a separate question. And there's no number of votes involved there, the way this is written.
Okay, so then we're eliminating the low vote getter for the 2 years, and we're having a separate set aside mayor race.
The way this petition, and it appears to be identical to, Counselor, to the one that you gave to me.
Correct.
The way this is written, it eliminates that 2-year term among the counselors. All counselors would each have a 4-year term, 6 counselors, and then the mayor would be elected separately to a 2-year term, the
Okay.
way this is written.
Okay, so then that aligns with what Halsey is doing. I'm fairly confident of that.
Madam Mayor, may I? I want to echo some of what Councilor Sanchez said, that a community member did state that we are one of the only communities that doesn't have an elected mayor. And I know that at the forum, when new councilors were elected, that was one of the questions. And the response from the audience when people were in favor of putting mayor on the ballot was definitely a positive one. So I'm all in favor of it going on the special election mayor ballot.
I have a few more questions. Go ahead.
And just to clarify, it's not a special election. The May and November in an odd year it's a standard election. It's just one that we would have to pay for.
Maybe City Attorney Larson can answer this question. If a mayor is elected in any community, how is that if the individual is not qualified or does a poor job at their job? How is that person removed from office?
The same way any position, elected position, it would require a recall, or our charter does have some language that I think is untested. But essentially, if you committed a felony or were in prison or were deemed to have abandoned the position, there's a procedure for removing that person from office. Obviously, that hasn't really been done. So that would certainly apply to a mayor position, but most of the time it would be a recall election that would be necessary.
So if we were to put this language forward from a direct referral to, we would skip a process of public comments through committees that would have more opportunity to speak into this than a direct referral. Is that correct?
Correct. Basically, I would need to take this to the next council meeting as a resolution. So the only opportunity for public comment would be at that meeting.
At that meeting.
Oh, correction. There is one other matter. One other way the public could comment is the same way that they can comment on the petition that's in place right now, and that's to contest the ballot title. If they disagree with the way the ballot title is written, they can file with the Circuit Court in Albany on that, and any direct referral would go through that same process. There is a challenge period.
So I've heard from community members that the ballot title, they don't have an issue with it. The ballot text, I've been told, is clumsy. So they're concerned about that. There's no way to contest the ballot text, correct?
only by voting against it when it's on the ballot.
I have heard from a number of community members who wouldn't speak out on social media for reasonable reasons, who are concerned about the text of the ballot measure.
Mayor, may I? I think that's why the people get the opportunity to vote. And if there's enough people in the majority, then they could say, yes, they like it, or no, they don't. And I think that they are smart enough to choose on their own.
Not allowing our community an opportunity to even absorb this, invent this, and discuss it in an open forum, because it's not about whether the mayor is directly elected. I mean, you got 4 chances there. That's not the issue I'm bringing up. There's so much confusion here and lack of information, and it's being like driven as an agenda. We have to do this now in May. I mean, there's still November, and there's still May again in 26, and still November. That gives us ample time for the community to really, get involved in the process, because we do have a process. That's what the charter review is. That is where we go through a systematic approach, hearing all from the community. But to rush this through, I think, is a major disservice for our community. Thank you.
And just to clarify, you would want this on the ballot no later than May of next year, just so that if the people did want to elect their mayor, it would be on the November ballot.
And regarding the Charter Review Committee, it does address more than just a mayor election in regards to that discussion, as the Charter Review has been something that I would have to disagree with counselors that repeatedly, it's not repeatedly been declined, just one time in 2021 was it not proposed to the council to make any changes. There's been changes made in 2015. Some of the charters that were sent to us by President Pro Tem Thorstad, even today, are from 1996. So ours have been updated recently. At the last League of Oregon Cities conference, it suggested if your charter had not been updated since 2000, it should be a concern. Ours have been updated in 2015. I think that stating that the community has repeatedly made a voice that they would like it done differently, I think is incorrect. They've repeatedly actually had multiple opportunities since this was instituted to change it, and they have not done so. City Attorney Larson, do you know when this type of election of the mayor was established in the city of Sweet Home?
You mean that the council elects the mayor?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't dived into the history of our charter, but it's been in place for quite some time. I believe dates back to the 40s, but I'd have to verify that.
Oh, I do remember once reading like something about an election in like 1929, because I think a woman won it. So I know they elected it then, but I don't know when that ended.
I know the current process has been in place since at least 1986. That's as far back as I could find, but it could be longer.
I've heard from others that it was at least 1953, but they didn't know if it was before then as well. And as America was settled as a constitutional republic, representative republic, and this process actually provides some checks and balances to the authority that is given. I think that when we choose to elect a mayor who comes from the general populace, anybody could move into the community of Sweet Home, dump a bunch of money into an election process, win the election of mayor, and can then do whatever they would like to do. It gives more authority. The way that this is set up now, I believe, provides more equal authority for all council members. I think it's sad that people are abdicating their authority by stating that I have more authority than I do. Obviously, in those things that are listed, that's not a lot of authority. People on the council actually have a lot of say in what goes on. if they were to take the opportunity to act in the authority that's been given to them. I'm concerned about pushing things through because I would like to hear from the community on multiple aspects of the charter and to hear what all we could potentially change and improve. I'm also very concerned about the amount of time that this is taking away from other projects that's in the city right now. I'd like to know what the councilors have as far as dreams and hopes and changes they'd like to see to improve the community in actual functioning of the city itself. And to state that the way that this is elected, the election of the mayor is the major problem in the community is a surprise to me. And I don't know where that comes from. So,
Madam Mayor, I really don't understand why this is so controversial to give the power away from us to the people. Like, I don't understand why some people are just so opposed to this. It's asinine.
Madam Mayor, may I? I heard someone up here mention that the community wouldn't have a chance to give input, but if it needs to go on the agenda, then it would be open for public comment. So any and all could come speak to us before we had a formal vote. So I feel like we would, as much as any other thing on an agenda, there would be opportunity for the public to give us our input.
Madam Mayor, may I? So what I heard was it's possible that people are nervous that the mayor being elected by the people might remove authority from council members, and that isn't accurate. So I just want to make sure that we still know that this is a weak mayor, not a strong mayor. So we're still going to retain our power. It's not changing anything of the mayoral duties. So I don't think anybody has to be worried about that. I still think the people are smart enough to not be bought for an election. As stated, you won the top votes before. Councillor Hagee won the top votes before. I've won the top votes before. And I think that people are pretty knowledgeable about who they want to lead the community, but I think that they deserve the opportunity to vote. The Charter Change Committee historically has seemed to tie things up in talks and not come to consensus, when in actuality the council has the authority to refer any part of anything to the ballot to allow the people to decide. And I think the people should have the right to decide. They've waited long enough.
and the Charter Review Committee could also give them that opportunity to make that decision as well. I think that we need to have a consensus unless there's further discussion from other counselors who've not had an opportunity to speak.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah. At the forum, I know it's been brought up a lot that every single person said that they supported the mayor being elected by the people. And at the time I did. But that's not knowing, that was my personal opinion. And as an elected council member, that's not why I'm here. I'm not up here representing my personal opinion of what I think. And I think that it should be known that I've had many citizens, come up to me, and they would rather have it the way it is right now than put it out and have it changed. So I know that a lot of the people, they're not the ones that speak up or are out in public voicing their opinions, but they are out there. And I think that giving those people a chance to speak, if we don't support them, and then it's not fair to those people. Also, I had a quick clarification on the, so is this what would be like if, like this is what was suggested as the changes, right? This paper.
That paper is what is in the petition.
Oh, okay.
And also Councilor Sanchez handed me a exact copy of that previously as something to be considered by the council for direct referral. What is actually referred is completely up for debate, up for changes. That the way that's done is there's a resolution that would need to be passed, essentially stating what the council wants to refer to the voters. And so that gives you an opportunity to really make any adjustments that you would want to have made for the to be put on the ballot.
Can I just get a clarification real quick? So right now, the charter states the three receiving the highest number of votes shall each hold office for 4 years. The one receiving the number of votes next to the three highest shall hold the office for 2 years. So my understanding, top three and the one next to the top three holds the 2-year term.
Yep.
So this wording here, at each biennial general election, 3 councilors and a mayor shall be elected. The councilors, the 3 receiving the highest number of votes.
The brackets indicates it's being deleted.
Okay. Maybe that's just what I need clarified. Thanks.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, may I? I feel as though if we put this on the ballot and it gets voted down, then the people have had their voice. If we put it on the ballot and it gets passed, the people have had their voice. So I feel like the 7 of us up here deciding whether or not the people should have a chance to vote on this, we should let the people answer for how they feel.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Mm-hmm.
So Blair, when we come to a consensus, is it 3 people can request to have something put on the agenda, or does it need to be more than 3?
I don't recall. Let me remind myself. But for any matter that is not on the agenda, it can be voted through to be placed on the agenda despite the mayor. And it's either 3 or 4, but let me double check on that.
We have an opportunity to change language because it sounds like 3 of us are going to request to be having it on the agenda. So I don't really see anything wrong with the language, but if there's things that don't sound right, we can fix it.
So what I'm initially seeing in your rules is that when you're in your regular work session, you could make a motion to place it on the agenda, and then you would need to go through a vote for that. The 3 is to convene a meeting.
So I make a motion to put this on the agenda.
We can't take action in a work session. You'll have to save it for the regular session.
Oh, okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
a question of clarification here. It seems to be an all or nothing for a May election. When we have a November election option, which gives us plenty of time to really get the community, aware of, everything that's on this. And so my question is, why? Why are we so anti putting this on a November election when we have time to really look at it as a community, as opposed to just cramming it down our throat on a May election? That's it. Because I support the concept of, like I said in before the election, of a mayor elected by the people. What I don't support is it crammed down our throat and not allowing the public to have input on this in such a short time frame. Doesn't change by putting it into an election in November, except for it gives the whole community the time to take a good look at it. This way, I mean, if it's all or nothing, and we're perceived as being anti, people elect the mayor because you want to cram it down their throat, that's a problem. Thank you.
I also know that November elections have a higher turnout and would have more involvement from our community members.
Madam Mayor, may
No.
I?
No, actually, I think another counselor is interested in speaking.
Point of clarification. So just to be on the same page, if we were to get a consensus today on us doing this, so we would be talking not today's city council meeting, but in 2 weeks, then we can have the public speak, and then we would take a vote, correct?
Correct.
May I? I feel as though this has gotten a lot of publicity. It's been in the New Era for multiple weeks. And again, it was spoke out at the forum back in October. So I feel like some of the thoughts that maybe the community hasn't had a chance to think about this and to kind of think how they feel about it. I feel like the community has had that time. And between now and May, there's more time for them to continue to think about it and research. And as far as pushing this through, we, all of us up here, we all want to get things done for our community. And this is definitely something that the community has voiced interest in. So again, I'm in support of moving it forward to May.
Madam Mayor, just to clarify, if we move it to May, it will cost us some unknown amount of money.
Yes, if we had it on May or November of this year, it will
So
cost us.
if we have it in May or November of the next 2026, it would cost us
Nothing.
nothing. Oh, just clarifying. Thanks.
May I?
Mhm.
So we're already paying the money in May. It's a cost savings and a cost share with additional jurisdictions, right? For other levy measures.
So the levies are going on regardless. Putting this on adds to our costs. It doesn't save us money.
Correct. But if we were to do this by itself in November without a cost share with other communities, it would probably cost us more.
It just depends on what's on the ballot.
Right. And historically in November to respond to we have time or there's more turnout, this is an off year. There's no elections in November. It's next year in the primary and the general of 2026. So we would have a historically low voter turnout this November. So I really advise against the November ballot if we really want more people to participate.
So this work session is to get a general consensus of whether this, we're going to do a direct referral regarding this language that's been presented. So I need to hear from counselors. I've heard from Councilor Augsburger. I've heard from Councilor Richards. Councilor Bronson, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? I've heard very clearly from Councilor Richards and Councilor Augsburger. What are your thoughts, Councilor Bronson? Would you like to move this forward or no?
May of 2026.
Okay. President Pro Tem Thorstad.
I'm still on the fence, but I think if we move this ahead and had public comment next council meeting, it would give me more information to make a better decision and a vote. So I think in consensus, I would move it forward just to get more feedback from the public.
Okay. And Councilor Sanchez, we've heard from you. And Councilor Hecky.
Now that we have the Charter Review Committee open, I think we'd cut ourselves short not going through that process. So.
Okay. So it sounds like we have 4 that are moving it forward to the next council meeting, which would happen on the 25th, February 25th.
Correct. So I'll
We
prepare an
have
agenda item.
a consensus, so I'm going to close this meeting at
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Who are the four?
Counselor Richards, Counselor Augsburger, President Pro Tem Thorstad, and Counselor Sanchez.
I thought he needed more time on this.
I would like to have more time, but if our argument is getting the people of Sweet Home involved on the decision process, they're going to have an opportunity to come here and speak to us on what they wish to do. I would love to have the charter committee. We're still going to do that regardless. And I'm here because of the people. So if they come in here and say that they want this on the ballot, then I'm willing to listen to them.
So like I said, we have a consensus.
So,
So
Madam Mayor, if I
Yeah.
can, what may, just one clarifying question to assist staff, mostly because I will probably end up writing the ballot title. I just want to make sure the process going forward is if this is going to be on the agenda of the February 27th, 25th meeting, at that meeting, there will be a resolution for you to vote on with the text that is being referred to voters. After that is passed, I would then draft the ballot title. And so what staff would need to know prior to the February 25th meeting is the exact text that you want to refer to voters. And so I just want to confirm there's one that's, as we said, there's a petition now with the language that is before you. Is that the language that you want in that resolution? Or are there any adjustments to it? Because you've talked about whether or not to do it, but you haven't talked about specifically what language you want to put forward to the voters. And so I think it would be wise to at least touch on that subject amongst yourselves.
any proposed changes to the language?
I will say that I met with many mayors last week on their processes and their ways of their charter and their council rules. And the city policy is right in line with what is proposed on the petition. They gave some good advice on what we could do differently, but it is in line with what other cities are doing. So I don't have any changes, but for the record, I don't really want to rush this through, but I just feel rushed. But I also want to do what the people say. And so I'm willing to hear what they have to say.
I think it's a good idea, City Attorney Larson, that the counselors would have a say in what the language is. I think it's important that counselors were to review this language and consider the outcomes of that and to speak into it, because as it stands, it appears one individual's language proposed by their attorney with support from other counselors and potentially rolling meeting. So I think the counselors need to really review it and to consider the ramifications and the outcomes of the language and to just evaluate it before the next council meeting. If counselors were to propose edited language at the February 25th meeting, that could still happen there.
Well, it's like any other resolution. The motion to pass a resolution can include modifications to that resolution. And so if anyone has any changes to it, what staff would likely do, and I don't want to put words in staff's mouth, but based on history, what they would likely do is put together a resolution based on the current understanding, based on this discussion, so with this text. And then at the meeting, when it's brought up for discussion, any counselors can propose modifications to that resolution and any modification, any motion to pass the resolution with the modified language would change it, as long as there's a majority.
Does any other counselor have a suggested change at this time?
I have one question, not a question, but a statement, an idea is, if we go with the counselors with 4-year terms, the mayor gets a 2-year term. What if the counselor that was running didn't want a 4-year term? If they wanted, like, maybe they get lucky and get the lowest vote and get a 2-year term. But I mean, I was just saying, like, I mean, if the person's running, I understand that they gotta know what they're getting themselves into. I get that, but I'm just like throwing it out there.
So I guess a couple scenarios. If you have a someone running for council and they win, but they only wanted a 2-year term and they only have a couple years that they want to serve, they don't want to serve longer, they would have to resign, and then
Right.
there would be a vacancy for the remainder of the term.
I only bring this up because I was asked, but
Okay.
like we're being rushed, and I'm trying to remember everything that was been brought up to me without using my phone. But
Other things to consider are that because there's a 2-year term as opposed to a 4-year term for the mayor, if there was a counselor that chose to run for mayor instead of, their term was ending and they chose to run for mayor instead of running for counselor, they can't run for both. And so you take your chances, and then you either win or lose, essentially, and then you're not on the council, which is different from the way it is done now, where if someone, say, because it's voted among the councilors, if there is someone proposed as mayor and they are not elected, well, they're still on the council. They haven't given up their council seat for that. That's kind of the differences between this modification and what we have now.
Any other proposed changes at this time? If not, we'll wrap this work session up at 6:17 p.m. and consider if you would like to have any changes made at a future date.